Today on The Gold Standard.
You cannot fix a debt problem by adding more debt. And that's exactly what we have here in the United States and what we have here globally. And why doesn't anybody ever talk about this? And what could you do to protect yourself from being destroyed when this all comes apart?
This is The Gold Standard from Midas Gold Group with Kenneth Russo. Hello, I'm Dave Deno. Welcome to The Gold Standard, your source for secure investment opinion and information on the advantages of purchasing and owning precious metals. Whether you're a novice investor or an experienced collector, this is the program that gives you a realistic weekly perspective on the state of the economy, reliable information about using precious metals such as gold, silver, and platinum to safeguard your wealth, and remarkable details about specific precious metal coins and bullion. Ken Russo is a senior vice president at Midas Gold Group. His peers characterize him as a straight shooter who will work harder for you than anyone else. Ken, it is a pleasure to join you again this week.
Yeah, nice to speak to you today, Dave, as always.
Our topic today is protection against the inevitable demise of the paper dollar. And this could very well be one of our most important programs that we've ever presented because we're talking about smart money management. And today, we're going to reveal the truth about America's precarious dollar, which is termed fiat currency. So let's begin with that term. I know we've talked a lot about it, but let's just go back to the ABCs of this. Fiat currency. What does it mean, Ken?
Well, great question, Dave, and very relevant. You know, everything that we've been talking about is about our paper dollar, our monopoly money, so to speak. And how could governments and our government, global governments, just print this fiat money out of thin air with the stroke of a computer key or the click of a computer mouse? How could they just print this money out of thin air? How could that be good? How could that be strong? How could that be trustworthy? Well, it's not, folks, and it's failed in every prior time. It's been in a superpower, so to speak, for a country. But fiat currency means that the currency, Dave, isn't backed by anything that's a tangible, valuable asset. It used to be backed by gold, and then that was completely eliminated in 1971, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that. So our dollar, Dave, is fiat, because it's backed by nothing of value. It's only backed by debt and the promise of the government to someday repay that debt. And we all know this debt is never going to be repaid.
Let's talk for a moment about how our money was backed, because I think it gives us a better perspective on where we are today and why our monetary system is so precarious. Can you give us a background?
Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting, Dave, that our money was backed by precious metal, like gold, exactly like gold, during America's most prominent years of growth and prosperity. And from 1792 to 1862, yes, people, there was a history of the United States, and yes, it does matter, and it is relevant. Our dollar was backed by a bimetallic system of both gold and silver. And this period, Dave, was followed by a fiat monetary system until 1879, and then the nation returned to a full gold standard to 1933. And the Federal Reserve Bank, Dave, was formed by 7 bankers in 1913 on Jekyll Island in Georgia. The Bretton Woods Agreement attempted to create an international system with gold as a standard, but it failed. And then any ties currency had to gold in the United States were severed in 1971 completely by Richard Nixon. So in 1933, Franklin Roosevelt asked everybody to turn in their gold, Dave. He wanted to make the ownership of gold illegal through executive order. This way the government can print more money and not have to have that much gold to back the paper money. And then in 1971, temporarily, as we've spoken many times, they took the dollar off the gold standard. So since 1971, it's backed by completely nothing. The government can print as much as they want out of thin air. How ludicrous is that, and how destroying it is to our purchasing power. Print as much as we want right out of thin air, and that's exactly what they're doing. And since 1971, we've seen the value, Dave, of the dollar. It's declined pretty steadily ever since. And we've mentioned many times on the show the value of $1 bill has declined by 97% since 1971 against gold. So, I mean, the more they print, the less our money is worth. And at the same time, national debt has skyrocketed, global debt has skyrocketed. They've printed more money in the last 10 years, Dave, than they printed from the beginning of our country up until
Wow.
2010 or so. So we are going exponential, and that means exponential risk. And when you have a financial system, Dave, that's backed by fiat money, that system has historically, and that money has historically failed, especially when it's so reliant on debt. And people, our system is addicted to money printing, and it's drowning in debt. So, for people that are listening out there that are nervous about their retirement portfolios and their savings account, and why is this all happening now? Why are we suddenly seeing inflation? Why are we suddenly seeing an economy that is having a very hard time, that's so reliant on money printing? Well, because that's what it is. We have a system that's addicted, Dave, to money printing, and we have a system, unfortunately, that's addicted to debt. And like I said before, those systems historically have always failed. So we should be thinking about how could we protect what we have, and how could we possibly see it grow. And that's where gold comes in today, Dave, and that's where it's always come in for 5,000 years as the only form of real money that holds its purchasing power.
And let's talk about that inflation for just a moment because it is front and center in each of our lives.
Well, it is, and recently President Joe Biden announced that inflation dropped to 0%. Imagine that, Dave. 0%. Our leaders are saying, I mean, despite double-digit annual increases in the price of food, housing, gas, and other non-discretionary spending items, he's using verbal sleight of hand, Dave, just to
Mm.
make it seem as if he had inflation under control. The fact was, and his inflation was still at a whopping 8.6% year over year. And I'm not a rocket scientist from NASA, but that's a long way, 8.6% from zero.
Ken, what's the bottom line to all this?
Well, we need to stop believing the lies, Dave. The fiat currency system, the paper currency system, and the central banking system, it's a lie. And the CPI numbers are lies. The employment numbers are lies. Speeches given by our highest government officials are lies. I mean, these guys will do anything to get elected, and these central bankers will do anything that it takes to print more money and keep this game going for as long as they can until they can't. And then it's all going to come crashing down. So it's a desperation, Dave, to keep this system going before it implodes. It's just embarrassing. And my message out there to people would be, don't be fooled. And what you can do about it is you could move some paper assets and get them out of the banking system, get your paper assets out of the stock market to a degree, out of your retirement accounts, and replace it in your own possession with gold and physical silver today. Get rid of some of that fiat, convert it into gold while you still can. Because gold, Dave, traditionally holds its value when fiat currencies fall. So if fiat currencies are going to lose their value going forward, and the more they print, we know that that's pretty much just a guarantee. It's only a matter of time before gold and silver reflect that and actually go up in value. And that's how you protect your purchasing power. And this is why, Dave, Midas Gold Group and I have dedicated ourselves to helping people avoid losing it all when things fall apart. And people, the money you've worked hard to save, it's too important to just take in a lackadaisical way. You have to be proactive before you have no choice, before it's gone. And that financial situation and the economy and the markets that rely on this fiat money possibly folding up like a house of cards, it could happen at any time, Dave. And those decisions and those moves have to be made now so that you can survive when the next financial crisis is on top of us. And people, it's very close.
We are going to continue our look at protection against the inevitable demise of the paper dollar just a little bit later in the program, and we'll highlight the best ways to convert your cash or investments into the security of gold. But first, a reminder that you're listening to the Gold Standard with Ken Russo from Midas Gold Group. And in a moment, we're going to look at a specific precious metal that you can use to safeguard your wealth. And that's coming up right after this.
Consumer prices surged 8.5% in March, and wholesale inflation surged 11.4%, an even more ominous trend. Sebastian Gorka here. The markets recently reacted to runaway inflation and drastic measures by the Fed by dropping up to 1,000 points in a day. That's your investment security being flushed, which is why I recommend diversifying with physical gold from Midas Gold Group. Gold traditionally holds its value when the dollar falls and economies fail. Don't wait until inflation steals your savings or liberal policies damage financial markets even further. Diversify your investments today with physical gold and precious metals with the only company I recommend, Midas Gold Group. Log on MidasGoldGroup.com, then call them at 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD. Even if the Fed slows inflation, what will it do to the market? The signs are not good. Call Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD. It's gold you can hold.
And we're back with more of the Gold Standard brought to you by Midas Gold Group with Ken Russo. I'm Dave Deno, and our topic today is protection against the inevitable demise of the paper dollar. By the way, if you live in the Los Angeles or Phoenix area, we encourage you to visit our local office to meet with us in person. For the address and directions, just log on to our website, MidasGoldGroup.com. That's MidasGoldGroup.com. And for those of you listening in other cities, call us directly at 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD. By the numbers 855-322-4653. Midas, by the way, is spelled M-I-D-A-S. Ken, now we turn to look at a specific precious metal product today. One that we have talked about before, but it's a coin that, well, it really fascinates me because of its history. It's the gold Britannia. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Dave, and don't forget our money's going digital, and this whole system is going to be under surveillance. And what could we do to get some money out of the system and out of the markets and get it into something that we could hold on to? And the gold Britannia is exactly one of those products. This coin, it has an aura of history, Dave, about it. Britannia has appeared on coins for 2,000 years. Ever since the Romans invaded the British Isles and claimed them as a province of Britannia. In fact, Britannia first appeared on the Roman coins of Emperor Hadrian around 119 AD. She was then revived for the coinage of Charles II in 1672. So a rich, long history, Dave. Modern sculptor and coin designer Philip Nathan created an interpretation of Britannia that was perfect for the new coins. It's strong, majestic, and resilient. It's a fantastic looking coin. It has a real nice gold sheen to it. Nathan, Dave, presented Britannia as a goddess standing upright against the wind, in turbulent seas. She is Britannia is the face of the United Kingdom. She holds a trident, and she stands ready with both a shield and an olive branch. She's ready for anything. It's a quite unique coin, Dave. It's a beautiful coin, and it does add to anyone's collection. I like this coin a lot.
It really is quite a work of art, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And not to mention a very valuable one, Dave. You know, the gold Britannia is minted in 24 karat gold, so our listeners know that that's 0.9999 fine gold. Terrific coin. The obverse side has a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, and the reverse side bears the figure of Britannia. One other interesting note, a sunburst design behind Britannia adds anti-counterfeiting protection to this coin. So it's a very hard coin to counterfeit, but we do have a bullion guarantee here at Midas Gold Group, as all of the mints that we buy directly from have great anti-counterfeiting protection, and we also do all of our testing ourselves on premises. But this gold Britannia, Dave, coin would be a magnificent addition to any bullion collection that you want to take delivery of and take control of, and put it in your safe or hide it somewhere so you know you and your family can get to it in a financial crisis time. This coin, Dave, would also be a great fit for your gold portfolio or in your gold IRA. So if you have some retirement accounts or some retirement funds somewhere that you're very nervous about, you want to get it out of the markets before you may not have that choice anymore, or maybe the United States someday could nationalize retirement accounts. Who knows? Anything's possible. It's happened before in other countries, or maybe they'll confiscate cash. Who knows? Maybe that's another possibility in the next 3 to 5 years. But regardless, this coin is a great addition to any portfolio that you could hold on to physically, because you don't hold it, you don't own it, or the Gold Britannia could also be rolled over tax-free into your gold IRA.
Thank you, Ken. Coming up in a moment, we're going to be talking more about protection against the inevitable demise of the paper dollar with Ken Russo from Midas Gold Group. And that's coming up right after this.
Consumer prices surged 8.5%. Wholesale inflation surged 11.4%. Sebastian Gorka here. The markets recently reacted to runaway inflation and drastic measures by the Fed by dropping up to 1,000 points in a day, which is why I recommend diversifying with physical gold from the only company I trust, Midas Gold Group. Call Midas Gold Group at 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-GOLD. It's gold you can hold.
And we're back with more of the Gold Standard, brought to you by Midas Gold Group with Ken Russo. I'm Dave Deno, and our topic today is protection against the inevitable demise of the paper dollar. And if you live in the Los Angeles or Phoenix area, you have a great advantage because you can visit one of our local offices to meet with us in person. You can get the address and directions by logging on to our website, MidasGoldGroup.com, M-I-D-A-S, MidasGoldGroup.com. For those of you listening in other cities, call us directly at 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD. And by the numbers 855-322-4653. Now, let's return to our topic today. Ken, you have a very keen eye when it comes to seeing truth from deception in our economy. I've learned that. You don't have a lot of faith in our elected leaders, do you?
No, I don't. And I don't have a lot of faith in our money. Do you know how many people we talk to every day, Dave, that just are afraid that their money's not going to buy anything in the future?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be worth anything, just monopoly money. I'm sorry to say that, but our government, Dave, is led by a bunch of power-hungry puppets who have no choice but to keep the money train going. The system is addicted to debt, and their only play is to print more, further destroying our currency. No matter what's going on out there, what situation we're in, the answer is spend and print. It's outrageous. Then their solution is to have the media endorse false narratives and to have all of the connected Wall Street players continuously pumping the idea of staying the course to fulfill your dreams of wealth through paper assets. I think we've heard this before, Dave. It's the same thing that happened in 2006 while Wall Street held up the mortgage bond market for 2 years to allow their buddies to get out before the bottom dropped out. But the truth is, Dave, as we all know, and we're going to say it again, you cannot fix a debt problem by adding more debt. And that's exactly what we have here in the United States and what we have here globally. And why doesn't anybody ever talk about this? And what could you do to protect yourself from being destroyed when this all comes apart?
A reminder here, you're listening to The Gold Standard with Ken Russo from Midas Gold Group. And today our topic is protection against the inevitable demise of the paper dollar. And Ken, you talk with people, as you mentioned, every day, people with hundreds of thousands of dollars that they want to protect, and people who just want to get started safeguarding a portion of what they earn by regularly buying gold. What trends are you seeing?
Historically, many of the bankers or media has kind of mentioned about, well, maybe you might want to have 5 or 10% of your money in gold as a hedge or to protect yourself. But this is a convenient way for them to keep 90 or 95% of the money at the bank or in the paper markets or in their commission generating instruments that they love to promote. But we're seeing that there's a lot more caution these days than possibly in the past. We're seeing that customers are more concerned about getting more of their money out of the system and into something that they can control like gold or silver than in the past. So as the risk has increased exponentially because money printing and debt has increased exponentially, I think that the desire to own more gold and more silver as a part of a plan or a nest egg has increased. And I've seen clients up to 25 or 50% of their paper assets. They're inquiring about how could they move their IRAs or some of their old 401ks or some of their non-qualified savings accounts, cash accounts, into gold and silver. Wait and see what happens. Wait until the dust clears, and then 5 or 10 years down the road, see where we're at. But that's what they're doing as a plan to keep their purchasing power.
We've talked about this before. There may be some hesitancy to call you and move some savings or investments into gold because it's an unknown for many people. So how do you work with people that you talk with? How do you help them understand the process and the value and have confidence?
I think most of the people we talk to, Dave, they understand that they need some protection and that they are just looking for some people to do business with that they can trust. They're looking for people that are reliable, where they're going to get a fair transaction and a fair deal, and they're very happy and content with that. So we educate people on fiat money, educate them on the stock market casino, educate them on central banking, and kind of give them some solutions of what they can do to move some of their assets into gold and into silver, so that for their family, no matter what happens, they know they will at least have something of value. So I think the basic core principles there for clients, they understand what's going on. They're not fooled by what's happening. And I think the one good thing about social media right now, Dave, is that sometimes you can see the truth. Sometimes you can see exactly what's going on. And I think that that's becoming more prevalent in today's world. We're seeing what a horrible job our government officials and our bankers have done with our money and running our financial system, and ultimately running our financial system into the ground. And I think clients, as well as you, are understanding more about our money and about the inflation situation and about the reckless banking that has gone on and the bubbles that have been created and popped. And they understand that this bubble is the mother of all bubbles, and it'll eventually pop, and they don't want to be destroyed. So I would say that we educate, we assist, and then we get some orders and transactions done. And that's what clients and people are looking for these days.
Ken, I have moved a good portion of my savings and my investments to the Midas Gold Group because of the information and the guidance that I get from you about owning gold and silver. I got to tell you, I feel a lot more secure financially because of it. So thank you. Thank you very much.
It's absolutely necessary, Dave, that people do the same thing to some degree to survive the upcoming financial implosion of what's going to go on with stocks, bonds, real estate, and our fiat money. And that's, again, people, that's what everybody has: stocks, bonds, real estate, and our fiat money. It's going to lose tremendous value in the next 5 or 10 years. You have to have gold, you have to have some silver to make sure that you're not totally wiped out when this all happens.
And that is going to bring us to the end of our time together today, all too soon, here on The Gold Standard with Ken Russo, brought to you by Midas Gold Group. And a reminder, opinions given here are not intended to be specific to your investment strategy, but rather general information to give you a better understanding of investing in precious metals. For answers to your questions, call Midas Gold Group at 855-322-GOLD. 855-322-GOLD. By the numbers 855-322-4653. And the website is MidasGoldGroup.com. MIDAS, MidasGoldGroup.com. The Midas Gold Group is proud to be America's #1 veteran-owned gold dealer, supporting veterans' causes with a portion of profits donated to the Wounded Warriors Project and the Semper Fi Fund. So your investment in your future is also an investment in the future of those who have bravely served the cause of freedom. Again, the number to call directly to speak with Midas Gold Group is 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD. Ken, thank you so much again for your time today.
Have a great week and a great Labor Day, Dave. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Hope the best for you as well. I'm Dave Deno. Come and join us again next week at this same time for another edition of The Gold Standard.
The Gold Standard was brought to you by the Midas Gold Group.